Welcome back to the Running Your Best Life podcast. I'm Victor Vizcaino, and today we have a very special episode lined up. Adele couldn't join us today due to a family emergency. We're thinking of her and sending our best. Before we dive in, let me start with this. What if the key to a powerful leadership isn't strength but vulnerability? Our guest today, Tyler Dickerhoof, has discovered firsthand that embracing your struggles is the real secret to unstoppable growth and impact leadership. Now, here's the fun twist. Tyler and I actually go way back. For about 6 to 8 years, I was his UPS delivery driver. It's pretty amazing to reconnect today, not with packages in hand, but with a microphone, getting ready to unpack his incredible story and insights on leadership, personal growth, and living your best life. Tyler is a seasoned entrepreneur, a leadership coach, and the host of the Impact Maker podcast. He's built teams of over 175,000 people, helped countless others transform their lives, and today he's here to share his wisdom with all of us. Let's jump right in. Welcome, Tyler.
Man, Victor, I'm so excited to be here with you. As you shared that, and I can vividly remember back. I don't even know how many years ago now. I know it not that long. For what, 4 or 5 years ago, did you retire? Has it been that long?
Three,
Four,
three,
three? Okay.
a little bit
And
over.
Okay. And I just remember you coming up and delivering a package, and most likely an Isogenics package, and talking about what you were going to do next, and focusing on running and really serving people. And for me, it was exciting. And you're just kind of an example of we often mistake like quality time, meaning structured sit down for an hour or two to build relationships, but our relationship was built over years of just meeting you at your truck to grab a package and just taking interest in each other. And I think it's pretty cool. So again, I'm so grateful to be here chatting with you, and excited to see what I can share to benefit your audience. And really, I think it's really cool what you're doing too, using your love for running to impact people.
Thank you. Thank you. It's such a pleasure to have you. I'm so excited. I remember, how long have you been in that place where I used to deliver your packages?
It will be 11 years this fall. So we moved here to this house in 2014. So that means if my math is right, for a good 8 years, no, longer than that, a good, well, yeah, 8 years, 9 years. You are our delivery person. So
Yes, because
yeah.
I remember delivering there before you moved in, and you
Okay.
did, and I was just amazed and always looking at the place because you guys did so many changes to that house. It was
We
like
did.
when I deliver, it's like it looked a little different. It was like, wow, this is looking really nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
No, we bought very much a blank slate of a house, and have did a lot just to make it a home for our three kids, and we're blessed from a business perspective to be able to have the money to invest. But it was also more of a wanting to be able to give experiences to others, our kids' friends, to our friends, and to use the home to really benefit our impact our community. So yeah.
are your kids still playing soccer? Because I know they used to play
Yep.
soccer. And
So each one of my three kids have played. None of them play anymore. My daughter, who is graduating high school this year, she's a dancer. She did play a couple years of high school soccer. My older son, he quit soccer 2 years ago to focus on football. He's a kicker, as well, playing other positions. And then my youngest son is a more focused on basketball. So yeah, we have a big, huge grass area, which is fun to play in. Now it's more with the dogs, or play football a little bit in, but it used to be our soccer field for sure that you saw.
yeah, yes, you have a beautiful family. Yes,
Thank you. Appreciate it.
awesome. Now, your journey into leadership started early in life. Can you share how your upbringing shaped your leadership style today?
Oh man. So I grew up on a farm. I grew up on a farm in the Midwest, hence the, if you're watching on video, you see the cow behind me. And that's part of my world. The part of our house that you wouldn't drive and deliver, but you would drive in the neighborhood. We have about 5 or 6 acres of pasture that I pastured off, and you can see behind us. And so got to raising cows. But growing up on a farm, one thing that I was bestowed upon as a gift, but also a struggle, was a lot of early responsibility. I started doing chores, taking care of our cows when I was like 5 or 6. I started being responsible. My sister and I were technically hired as employees. I think when I was 8, she was in 10, to help milk our cows. We were work on the weekends, or an family employee got the weekend off. And that really continued until we liquidated and sold our farm when I was, I think at that point, 15. And so kind of that early leadership, that early do the work. One thing that I didn't realize was a blessing. It was building a lot of intuitiveness and just figure it out. On a farm, there were times I'd have a lot of chores, a lot of jobs, and my dad wasn't there necessarily to guide me, direct me. It was kind of like, hey, this is the job, go get it done, figure it out. And I think that actually, it hampered my ability to lead in some ways, but it accelerated my ability to problem solve. And, where that became difficult is I didn't have someone who was always with me, guiding me, giving me direction, critiquing feedback. It was, kind of the sink or swim model. And
Yeah.
so when I got early into my professional career, I was used to that. So I wasn't a great employee per se, because I wasn't always asking, my supervisor, those that are a little bit older, like, hey, how do you do this? What do you do? I just put my head down and figured it out, because that's what I was used to. And I think that's where kind of this journey and evolution and leadership, and realizing kind of the classic African proverb is, one goes fast, many goes far. And I had to really learn and adapt a leadership style, instead of just trying to go everywhere fast. Is, oh no, as a leader, I had to slow down and really put my arms around people, as I describe it, so we could go far together. So that's kind of a journey that I had to go on.
That's awesome. I love your connections with the farming and the leadership and
Yeah.
the collaborating with other people. That's awesome. And that's something that I discovered we have in common. I was raised in a farm in Mexico.
Okay.
We were born, my siblings and I were born in California, but they took us young. My dad took us young, as
Okay.
about 6 years old. The same thing. It was, had a farm. We are just in charge of doing the farm work, and it's hard work, and you can't
Yeah.
leave it. You can't just go on
No.
vacation. It's like
No.
he always has to take care of the animals. We were in charge of cleaning the pig stalls and
Okay.
used water from the river, so there was no potable water at the time. Later on we had potable water, but at the time we took buckets, and
Yeah.
that's how we cleaned the stalls. But every
Yeah.
day after school you had tons of
Yeah.
chores.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was my life. Like, I can remember I wanted to go back to school after the summer to rest, because, if there was a vacation, days during the summer, I mean, I was up at 5 milk cows, and, if I had activities, that's fine. But I mean, it was a 5 in the morning till 7 o'clock at night. That was most days. And there were summer days it would go longer. It was funny when I was filling out my college application my senior year of high school. I did not realize until then that I had 3 jobs my senior year. So I had, our farm, we still had some animals. I raised animals that I sold. I worked on a neighbor's farm on the weekend, to let his normal employee have the weekend off. And I also worked at a grocery store during the week. And so I had 3 different jobs. And that was also, I played soccer the fall of my senior year. I was involved in activities like 4-H and FFA. So that was normal to me, because that's what I was raised in. And so kind of the idea of, slowing down, it's something I had to learn. And it's very much I would say, an attribute in my leadership. And so often, as I just got off a session with my leadership community that I help coach called the Roundtable. And we were talking about this. Like, one of the greatest difficulties for a leader is understanding that you get more done when you delegate. You get more done when you are able to allow people to, if they're 80% as good as you, to let them do it. And oftentimes we can find this, kind of fault in, well, I get judged based upon the quality of the work. I get judged based upon what my employees, how they do it. And the reality is that often isn't the case. Sometimes, but not absolutely. And, in reality, as we accomplish way more and we have people grow to be able to do better when we allow them to do it. And then with grace, we guide them. We give feedback. We're there with them. And that's something, like I said, I had to learn. I had to go through and really choose to embrace slowing down in order to, really help and serve people bigger.
It sounds great. Sounds like you kind of like going back to the farm, because I don't know about you, but the farm is kind of you, especially when we're young, they
Yeah.
wouldn't have as many machinery as there's very few people that milk cows these days, even in Mexico.
Yeah.
It's kind of rare, but it's a slower pace. And now going back to it's like, hey, you can get a lot. There's so much that got done between a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Well,
and
and I think that, really kind of what I pick from that, Victor, is what are we trying to accomplish? Right? Are we just trying to go fast? Because, not necessarily going fast is better. Like, for example, I don't know what your fastest mile in any of your races ever are. But if you were to say, all right, let's just say, for example, I'll just use a 5-minute mile, right? Say you can run a 5-minute mile. Great. But if you want to go out and run with your friends and your family, are you going to push everyone to run a 5-minute mile? Probably not going to be real enjoyable. But if
no,
you're okay to say, yeah, we're going to go out and we're going to have fun, and I'm great if we run an 11-minute mile. Okay. Does that mean you're any less quality of a runner? No. Who cares? Did you enjoy it? Did you have fun? Did you accomplish? If you're training, say, for example, the first time you ever coach someone, right? First time they've never ran at all. And they run they keep moving, they run a 14-minute mile. Does that mean they're not potentially for better? No, they can. They got to start somewhere. And I think that's where, this idea of we're too often in this world, we miss what we're doing because we're always trying to get to the end instead of saying, I would imagine, you and I've never talked about this, but I would imagine a big virtue of running is when you like doing it, but it's the ability to be around people.
yes,
And if you are so fixated on, I have to, go back to this, man, this was not a good run. It was a waste of time unless I had negative splits and I averaged a 5:02 mile. Oh, that was my waste of time. I don't even run. Like, if you do that, you're doing it for all the wrong reasons, in my opinion.
absolutely. Yeah, no, I
But
agree.
people like that.
Yes, and I think I got there in different periods of my own training. And when I was
Okay.
trying to qualify for Boston,
Yeah.
I adapted that mentality that wasn't serving me because you're just fixated in let me run faster, let me get there, and then when you get there, you feel this emptiness because
Yeah.
you want to do it for the long run. So I've adopted that same saying is like you can go much further with other people and by slowing down. And I
Yeah.
often tell my clients, we want to slow down to go faster or to even
Yeah.
accomplish more because many of my clients, when after I talk to them, they want to do this for a long time. They want to adapt it as their lifestyle. But if they're running those like 5 minute, always trying to be at
Yeah.
their fastest, they're not
Yeah.
going to sustain that. They're either going to get hurt or they're going to get burned out
Yeah.
and then drop completely off.
Yeah.
But yes,
I mean,
yeah,
here's the thing about it. And to your point, you have to be willing to ebb and flow. Hey, you can go out and say you were at a season where, again, you're training for Boston, you want to qualify for Boston, and you're with a group of people that, hey, we're all in. Yeah, let's push each other. Let's see what we can do. And you're running in a group and you're like, okay, we can do this. But if that's all that consumes you in life, man, as you said, it starts to get really empty.
Yeah.
And I think leaders have that same challenge and problem. Is what judges engages a good business? What judges engages a good leader? Is it, we have great times, we have great numbers, we have great, is that a good business? Or a business that people love to work at? They know that they're serving their customers for a reason in a great way. Like, and they're profitable. Okay. Well,
True.
just because you made an extra, say a company made an extra $100,000 profit, does it mean it's any better company than the comparison that people love to work at, that their customers rave about? No, in reality, they're on the, next year they may be gone. And I think it's so hard in our world because leaders get caught, business owners, entrepreneurs, chasing what other people have. One of the biggest things that I've seen, and it's a struggle of, in a generational change is, there's generations that were signified. You were successful if you had the house, you had the car, you got to go on vacations, do all those things. And now we're getting to a point, and I think about, where my kids are at, or the gate, gap above them, kind of this, the Gen Z, the millennials that are like, no, I don't really care about those things. I want to have great experiences. Yeah, I want to have a business that makes money, but I don't want to do it just to have a, the latest sports car or this or that. I want to be able to spend time with family. I want to be able to vacation. I don't want to work 80 hours a week to just put more commas in my bank account. I'll work 80 hours a week, but man, I want to be able to go on a trip and see the world. I want to be able to have experience. Our world has changed so much there. And I think part of it was during COVID, when people were forced to kind of slow down and say, hey, what does this all mean? Like, what are we doing it for?
Yes. The essential, like the new word of being essential is like, am I essential or not? In
Yeah.
areas, what
Yeah.
is essential? The meaning of being essential,
Yeah.
what is essential? And
Yeah.
I that taking care of our health did become or started to become a priority once
Yeah.
we noticed
Yeah.
what not being
Yeah.
healthy means.
You bring up a point about being essential. I think what that period really did for many people that were in their workforce, but also impressed upon, I guess, that next generation of leaders is, if you were thinking like, UPS, that was an essential job, right? You got to deliver packages. People need stuff. It's the only way they can buy things. Well, you were, all right, my job has value in a world that's like, what do we value? And then you go to other businesses that were deemed, oh, you're not essential. Sorry, your job doesn't count. And I have a friend who was the strength and conditioning coach for the New York Yankees. His wife was a journalist, and they lived in New York City. And during COVID, right after it, they bought a farm about 2-3 hours northwest of the city, because they realized what we're doing really doesn't matter. If we're not playing baseball games, and, I think his wife was just ready to move on from journalism. And so they bought a farm, they're raising cattle, they're selling beef, they're, raising some pigs, they're selling pork, because they wanted something that they knew really counted and mattered. And I think when we stop and realize, why do workers want what they want today? I don't think we could undersell the impact of that period of determining, are you essential or not, based upon what you do.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, that leads me good to the next question I was going to ask you. You've talked about vulnerability and
Yeah.
essential to, in fact, impactful leadership. When did you first realize its power, and how has it transformed your relationship and career?
Yeah. It was a journey. It was a journey that started probably 7 or 8 years ago. Now a little bit longer. where I got to a point, we owned a gym. We're here at this house, and we were, had our other businesses. And I'm like, what am I doing this for? And, just having normal employee situations and difficulty, showing up on time and doing a good job. And, my solution was I'll just put my head down and push. And quickly, as a person of faith, God said, no, it doesn't work. And that really led to a soul searching of like, ooh, there's a better way to do this. And what I had to learn is I had to stop being intense and be willing to be more vulnerable, be empathetic, and say, hey, I don't have all the answers. And that was a lot of I would say, inter-reflection. Where did that intensity come from? That intensity came for me when I was 14. I had a younger brother who died in a farming accident. I drove over him. He was 3, I was 14. And how I responded to that was intensity. And it was signified by, the emergency personnel show up, and I'm talking to the sheriff, and he's asking questions. And I'm like, it was an accident. Plain and simple, it was an accident. And I kind of got, a little fed up, frustrated with his questions. And going back to the farm, I said, hey, I'm going to go in that barn and milk those cows. If you want to come with me, great. If not, we're done. And I remember that so vividly because that was a moment that I've been able to pinpoint where I realized that with my intensity, I just put my head down and push. Oh, there's a challenge in front of me. I'll just put my head down and work harder. I had worked hard on the farm. I knew how to work hard. I can just put my head down and push. And that doesn't work when you're trying to lead others. And what I had to understand, and again, it played out for me. I read a lot about empathy. And it's like, all right, well, I want to be able to work better, have better relationships, and lead people I work with. And, I read a lot about empathy and started to understand it. It's like, what's early described as, oh, put yourself in someone else's shoes. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think that really works because, if my feet are bigger than their feet, that's going to hurt. If we're both in the same shoes at the same time, that's going to hurt. And so I tried to think of it as a different way. And what I started to understand, it's like, oh, if I put my arms around someone and walk with them, coming back to this, like you shared, is like, I have to slow down to go with others to make this worthwhile. Well, if I put my arm around someone, if I go faster than I drag them, it's not going to go well. At the same point, if they go faster than me and I drag them, it's not going to go well. So we have to find a pace that we can go together. Like there are people, there's probably a running competition. It's very much like, passing a baton in a relay, but you could probably go into a running competition where people are so in sync every stride where you could run with your arms around someone. You could go fast. It doesn't mean you have to go slow, but you have to find the place to meet up with them. And I was talking to a friend of mine one day, I think we were having a podcast, and I was asking, he was a Navy SEAL, retired Navy SEAL. And I said to him, like, hey, who makes it through BUDS training? The basic underwater demolition SEAL training. And he goes, oh, that's simple. That's easy. The people that don't try to do it on their own. He goes, when you're sitting there and you're holding onto a log in the surf, the San Diego surf, and water's just beating on you, you try to do it on your own, you're not going to survive. But if you link arms with the person beside you and are vulnerable to say, I can't do this on my own, that's what we want. And he's talking about that's what they want in the Navy SEALs. And they're like, oh, so when you put your arms in the air and say, I can't do this on my own, and you link arms with someone else, you're empathetic, you have to be vulnerable. You have to expose yourself. You can't lie to them about, I'm stronger than I am when you aren't, because they can tell. They don't know exactly what it is, but they can tell. And, that's when I started to really understand the power of vulnerability, sharing about my brother. Yeah, that's a story that, it doesn't matter. We've all gone through things. You meet me and, working together, don't necessarily know that, but, we've all gone through that. Everyone has a challenge they've gone through. And are we willing to be authentic about it in our work? Right? Say, for example, either running or going back to your days at UPS. And say there was a package that I expected, I needed. I was going to leave at 6:00 and I needed this package and I needed whatever it was, and you showed up at 6:15. and you're like, I know this was due to delivery, right? It was supposed to be there at 6. My truck, the tires blew out. And if I was a jerk and like, I can't believe that it was supposed to be, does that get me anywhere? But all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, dude, that sucks. I'm sorry you had to go through that. That's never fun. You probably had to have a different truck so they could swap it out. It just delay. Now you're going to get home way later to your family because you still got to deliver all the packages, right? If I'm hung up about me not getting my package on time, when the next time you come, yeah, you might throw the package from the truck to the door because you're like, look at that experience, right? And you would never do that. But that, you just imagine that would happen. And if I chose not to accept, oh, yeah, we all have things, right? It's okay. That's life. And just being vulnerable enough. And if I shared with you, it's like, yeah, I was supposed to go to this special meeting. This was a special gift for a special birthday party. You'd be like, I get it. Hey, I understand. I understand the importance of timing. And maybe there were days if you were, had packages that were supposed to be delivered by a certain time, right? And you knew, and you had a relationship with the people you delivered to, you might try a little bit harder to, make sure you got there. And I know you're not always in control going back, but it's those things make an impact. And none of that happens without a little bit of vulnerability to start.
Correct. And I think it builds trust as well, because if
Yeah.
you are always, um, like you said, just for your own or on your own, then people may not be able to trust you, especially like in the military. If like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't know if this person is going to be there when I need him, if he's always trying to do everything on his own. But if on the other hand, like you said, he's wrapping his arms around you, then you know that okay, he may be there when at the very crucial moment that I need him, and I'm
Yeah.
there as
Yeah.
well.
Because this same friend told me a story about being in Afghanistan. And they were on a mission. They were supposed to get airlifted out, but they had to wait like 8 or 10 hours. And they were on top of this ridge, and they were all kind of, buried in, just because the enemy was all around them. And, all of a sudden the commander, the leader of the group, hears on the radio, it's like, hey, Captain, do you need any water? He's like, no, I'm good. And all of a sudden, everyone's like, hey, do you have ammo? Do you need any food? Are you good? Are you good? And everyone's asking around. It's the only way they're going to survive. The guy that's over on the corner and he's hoarding water and ammo to protect himself doesn't survive. And that's why they teach the lessons with the log, because they don't want that guy with them. Because if that person is with them, no one survives. And it's interesting. One of the things I've learned is you can force yourself. There's people that have enough strength and will and endurance to force them through the SEAL training, but they may never end up on a team because they still hold it. Hey, if you're not a team player, if it's not about everyone else before yourself, we're never going to put you in a theater where we rely on you. And so there's become a few famous SEALs who have, paraded around, I'm a SEAL, but they never served on a team. And it's because they never wanted them, because they were too focused on themselves rather than the team. And most of the SEALs that have made a tremendous impact that I know, some of the most humble, empathetic, authentic, caring, do anything for anyone people, because that's what they need to do to survive themselves and for others.
It is, yeah, it's amazing. There's so much incredible value in these wisdom that you're sharing. That's amazing. And I wanted you to share a little bit about this event, because if
Yeah.
you have all this information and all
Yeah.
this wonderful wisdom, I take it this event is going to be amazing
Yeah.
and around the same realm that I plan to
Yeah.
be there.
Yeah.
But tell
Yeah.
our audience
Yeah.
what's going on.
So this will be the second year. Last year, I hosted an event called the Impact Driven Leader Summit. So part of my community, Impact Driven Leader. And it is May 7th and 8th at the Davenport Grand. You can check out more by going to the website, idlsummit.com. So I'm going to be speaking a little bit. Katie Harnato, who is the president of USL Spokane. So both the USL Spokane Zephyr and the Spokane Velocity. She's going to be speaking. And then a couple very good friends of mine. Jenny Catrone is an author, speaker. She wrote the book Culture Matters. And Robbie Emery. Robbie is the director of character development for Michigan football. I am a Buckeye. I'm going to acknowledge this right now. It is a friendship because he's such a great dude, but I don't like Michigan because I'm a Buckeye. But I'm excited for them to be there. And kind of our unofficial theme is culture, but what we've talked about really as far as leadership and just this authenticity and vulnerability, if that doesn't permeate a culture, then you're going to see the negative side of it. And it's really about, as a leader, sometimes we often think a culture will take care of itself. Like, I'm going to do everything else first, right? And, like UPS has a culture, right? But the leader can either keep that culture and sound, or all of a sudden like, oh, everything great that we know about this company, other places, doesn't exist here. And a lot of times that isn't always about the leader. That's about the people. But it's saying, hey, what's important to us? What are the values? And so that's what the event is going to be about. Super excited to host it again at the Davenport Grand, May 7th and 8th. Go to IDL Summit. If you do this, if you put in running into a special code, if you put in running, you will get a 20% discount from the ticket. That's just for any of your viewers, would love to extend that. So put into the promotional code running, and you'll get 20% off a ticket.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's so generous of you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. And where can people find you?
Yeah. The easiest place to find me is YouTube. If you go to the Tyler Dickerhoof Show. So we recently renamed the podcast the Tyler Dickerhoof Show, so it's easier to find. If you go to YouTube, that's where you'll be able to find content, podcasts, any of the other videos. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Look for the Tyler Dickerhoof that's bald. I know there's like one or two others on Facebook. And then as well, wherever you listen to podcasts. So whether that's Apple Podcasts, whether that's Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find the Tyler Dickerhoof Show. I think I mentioned you earlier, Victor. We are just about to release episode 200. It's been a lot of fun. And, here's the great thing that I love about being a podcast host, which I imagine you can as well, is you get to have conversations with people you wouldn't otherwise get to interact with. And, even though we're both here in Spokane, we can be all across the world or different country and get to have some of these amazing, valuable conversations that I know you get to have on your show. And it's truly a joy of mine.
Yes, I feel the same way. And it's so nice to have you on the podcast. I love your wisdom. I love everything. But I also just had like an analogy, because I used to think that way with UPS. Like,
Yeah.
I get to go to places, I got to go to your house, or I would see
Yeah.
how, I wonder, one day I'd like to go in that driveway and see what the house looks like. And I would go there, and it's like,
Yeah.
but this is just in a whole different realm, the podcast and being able to speak to people or being in a conversation. This is probably the longest we've had a conversation because we were always like,
I mean, it would be a couple minutes, but yet I look at it and, you don't have to have an hour-long conversation to build a relationship. It comes down to who are you as a person, the values. And, to me, that's a lot of credit to how you chose to serve people as a driver. And it's what you're still doing as a running coach in a community and a podcast host. And that's really exciting. And I'm glad to see, how you're serving everyone.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I like to see that too. And I always knew how much you care, because you had those conversations with me, or you would ask how I'm doing. And, we've had all those interactions, and I love your way of being. And
well, thank
you're
you.
an awesome human being, and people should connect with you and follow you. You have a lot of wisdom. You offer great value. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I always ask my guests one question. What does running your best life mean to you?
Oh, man. One of the things that I focused on, especially in part of, through my leadership coaching, through what I do, through coaching youth sports, to just being involved in the community, is my aim is to help people accomplish what they never thought possible. And I think running your best life is putting yourself in that place, meaning I have to be healthy. I have to be fit. I make the joke and kind of part of the fitness. I've never seen anyone that's making the largest impact on people in their life when they're laying on a table about to have a major surgery, because they didn't take care of their health. And I think it's a part of it. It's mental, it's spiritual, it's physical, it's relational health. And running your best life is setting yourself up to be able to serve people, to do what you can only do by being willing to take care of yourself first.
Yes, definitely. Showing up at your highest level
Yeah.
is required to take good care of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I so much appreciate you being on the podcast, and I look forward to your event and
Yeah.
also to do this again at a
Yeah,
different time.
absolutely. I'm glad to be here. It's a pleasure. Thank you for asking me, and man, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Tyler. You as well. Thank you. And goodbye. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we see you on our next episode.